One of the most mysterious and powerful women in ancient Egypt, Nefertiti was queen alongside Pharaoh Akhenaten from 1353 to 1336 BC, and may have ruled the new kingdom outright after her husband's death. Her reign was a time of tremendous cultural upheaval, as Akhenaten reoriented Egypt's religious and political structure around the worship of the sun god Aten. Nefertiti is best known for her painted sandstone bust, which was rediscovered in 1913 and became a global icon of feminine beauty and power. On the walls of the tombs and temples built during Akhenaten's reign, Nefertiti is depicted alongside her husband with a frequency seen for no other Egyptian queen. In many cases, she is shown in positions of power and authority leading the worship of Aten. After Nefertiti had given birth to 6 daughters, her husband began taking other wives, including his own sister, with whom he fathered the future King Tut, Tutankhamun. Nefertiti's 3rd daughter would eventually become her half-brother Tutankhamun's queen.
It's a mystery as old as the pyramids. What happened to Queen Nefertiti, a legendary beauty and powerful ruler, married to King Tut's father, so beloved he made her co-king. But after death, she was erased, her mummy gone.
This is the most famous image of Nefertiti.
Josh Gates, archaeologist and adventurer, was hooked, traveling to Egypt for the Travel Channel's Expedition Unknown to look for answers.
This is a tomb known as KV-35.
The first clue, far from King Tut, a mummy known as the Younger Lady, now in a quiet corner of the Cairo Museum. In 2010, DNA tests proved she was King Tut's mother. Was she a mistress, another wife, or, as Gates and Egyptologist Aidan Dodson suspect, the missing Nefertiti?
Is it possible that the mummy of Nefertiti is actually sitting under glass in a museum right now?
I think it may be probable.
They used high-tech imaging to scan the Younger Lady's head for the first time, creating an exact replica, the basis for a forensic reconstruction.
This rather sad, mutilated face you can't really visualize as a living, breathing woman.
It's very hard to see people in the past. It's even harder to see women because they're so often framed by men. So this is an opportunity to see a real woman, a real powerful woman from history brought back to life.
Enter Elizabeth Danes, the artist behind this reconstruction of King Tut, and now his mother. She says her toughest job yet, building a face with covered eyes, a missing jaw. 3 months later, the Younger Lady has a face.
I'm dying to meet her.
To be able to come face to face with a living woman will be absolutely thrilling.
A face just maybe to help solve an ancient mystery of the legendary, extraordinary Nefertiti. For today, Kelly Kobiella, NBC News, Paris.
And Josh is with us now, along with his little friend here.
Yes.
What was the inspiration for doing this?
You know, Nefertiti is, I think, sadly remembered as the most beautiful woman of the ancient world. But in fact, she was a really substantial leader. This is a woman who was a pharaoh. And I think that it's time to identify her, to figure out who she really was. We know her from this famous bust in Berlin that everyone sort of remembers her from. But that's a kind of idealized image. And so we wanted to look at this mummy in the Egyptian Museum and say, could this be the real Nefertiti?
All right, so we're going to reveal it, but this is 3D imaging. You think this is spot on?
This is spot on. This was a 3D image of the mummy's head was done. It was then given to a forensics team and an incredible world-class reconstruction artist. So this is very accurate.
All right, here it comes. We're going to do the big reveal.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
We're going to knock it
2,
over.
3.
Okay.
And there she is.
Wow.
Wow, that's intense.
Wow.
Isn't she amazing?
Yes.
She really is.
So how do you reconstruct? And how accurate do you think this is?
I think it's extremely accurate to the mummy. The forensics artists are able to do an extremely good job at looking at the tissue, depth, determining muscle, and all of that. And so what we're looking at here for sure is King Tut's mother. We know genetically that this mummy is King Tut's mother.
We don't know if Nefertiti
That's
is
right.
King Tut's
We know
mother.
that we know that Tut's father was Akhenaten, who was married to Nefertiti. So it's a good good bet. And the really encouraging thing for me is that when you look at the known ancient images of Nefertiti that we have, like the Berlin bust, there are amazing similarities here.
I was going to say, look, a lot of people get those necklaces with that side view.
Right.
They sell them everywhere in Cairo, and it looks spot on.
But what's amazing, really, is that the Berlin bust is this kind of idealized image. It's the sort of ancient Photoshop, right?
Yes.
This is a real woman, and,
Wow.
when we look at this reconstructed bust, what we see here is someone who is substantial, and someone whose mummy was really cast off, and now we can really see her restored, have her dignity restored in a way.
That was cool.
Incredible
Josh, thank you.
artistry, and it obviously an archaeological feat as well, but it's really cool, Josh. Thank you.
DNA tests reveal that the mummy known as the Younger Lady, from which this facial reconstruction was made, has been identified as the mother of the pharaoh Tutankhamun and a daughter of Pharaoh Amenhotep III and Queen Tai. That said, speculation that this mummy was the remains of Queen Nefertiti, which still remains possible, have not yet been confirmed to my knowledge, so still a possibility, but questions remain. The 18th dynasty of Egypt is classified as the first dynasty of the ancient Egyptian New Kingdom period, lasting from about 1550 BC to 1292 BC, boasting several of Egypt's most famous pharaohs, including Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and King Tut. The 18th is unique among ancient Egyptian dynasties in that it had two female rulers, Hatshepsut being the other.
This is Yuya, and this is Tuya. They're the grandparents of Akhenaten, who is now known to be King Tut's father. They were found intact in their tomb, and their identities are certain.
Well, there's our research that we're hearing today that shows half of all Western European men are somehow related to the Egyptian pharaoh King Tutankhamun. CTV's Marilla Fernandez here with more on this. Marilla, what's up with this?
It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So this is coming out of Switzerland, and the researchers there have found that not only do half of Western European men have this connection, genetic profile connection, but 70% of men in Britain, which is astounding. But they all have the same genetic profile or same ancestry as King Tut from Egypt way back when. And here's what's really shocking about this. Less than 1% of modern-day Egyptians have that same connection.
According to a study by one of the top genealogical publishers of the world that has provided authoritative genealogical records of historical families for more than 190 years, Queen Elizabeth is a descendant of Islam's Prophet Muhammad, specifically his 43rd great-granddaughter. A release by United Press International dated October 10, 1986 says, Muslims in Buckingham Palace. Mixed in with Queen Elizabeth's blue blood is the blood of the Muslim prophet Muhammad, according to Burke's Peerage, the genealogical guide to royalty. The relation came out when Harold B. Brooks Baker, publishing director of Burke's, wrote Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher to ask for better security for the royal family. Quote, the royal family's direct descendant from the Prophet Muhammad cannot be relied upon to protect the royal family forever from Muslim terrorists, he said. Probably realizing the connection would be a surprise to many, he added, quote, it is little known by the British people that the blood of Muhammad flows in the veins of the Queen. However, all Muslim religious leaders are proud of this fact, end quote. Brooks Baker said the British royal family is descended from Muhammad through the Arab kings of Seville, who once ruled Spain. By marriage, their blood passed through to the European kings of Portugal and Castile, and through them to England's 15th century King Edward IV.
واتكتب فيه كتب من آل هاشم، من آل النبي، يعني هاشمي. ازاي طب أما الملكة ما طلعتش مسلمة ليه؟ لأنه أصل الهاشمي ده ساب الإسلام.
It's something you might not expect to be written on a 9th century Viking ring, for Allah. The ring was discovered back in the late 1800s during excavations of a Viking trading center in Burka, Sweden, and they were able to clearly see that the ancient Arabic writing reads for Allah or to Allah. The researchers say that most likely we'll never know the exact meaning behind the inscription or where and why it was done, but that the ring definitely offers a link between the two civilizations long ago.
This image is said to be of actual hair from the beard of the Prophet Muhammad. The red hair said to have been shaved from Muhammad's face by his barber Salman in the presence of Abu Bakr, Ali, and several other witnesses. Individual hairs were later taken away, but the beard itself is kept protected and on display in a glass container. Starting after the age of 40, the Prophet Muhammad began to dye his graying beard red to gain a more youthful appearance, as the Prophet Muhammad himself was reported to have naturally red hair when he was young. This helps to explain why millions of Muslims today, some being of sub-Saharan African origin with black hair, also dye their beards with red henna. The same way that DNA evidence has demonstrated that about 99% of modern-day Egyptians are not genetically related to the blonde and red-headed pharaohs, the vast majority of Muslims today have no ethnic relation to the Prophet Muhammad, yet still dye themselves with red henna out of respect, tradition, imitation, and religious reasons. My name is Robert Sepehr. I'm an independent anthropologist. I appreciate your support by subscribing and for sharing these videos. Thank you for the wonderful comments and to those that have made a donation to Atlantean Gardens, the non-profit organization that publishes my books, available on Amazon.com. Your contribution is very much appreciated. Be well until next time.